All right, cool. Welcome back to Yin and Young, the podcast. We are here with artist, illustrator, creative director, uh, food connoisseur,
Am
Geoff
I?
Oki. Yeah.
Yay. Thank you. Thanks for
I mean,
having me.
I watched a vlog of yours just like as I was doing research for this. I saw
Oh
you did a
God.
vlog in Tokyo a couple years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, you were
Or the
eating
one
some
I
stuff. Yeah.
horse sushi probably.
So, yeah, I guess, yeah. We can get into that. I guess I'm kind of curious about that. But
Sure,
but to
sure.
start us off, yeah. So I'll just say for our listeners, I met Geoff at the LA Asian Pacific Film Festival like years ago, and I think you had issues with getting a ticket or something, or it was something random like that. And I'm like, hey, I think I can. Somehow I was able to help you get a ticket. Something vaguely like that. I don't know if you remember that at all. Or
That sounds familiar. Did I bother
yeah,
you like you were standing outside and I was just like, hey, can you get me in? I don't really remember. It sounds like something I would do and just it's not like I didn't know anybody in there. You know what I mean? It was
right,
just like,
yeah,
can I get a ticket to get in?
yeah.
Scalping
So
tickets.
Yeah.
was it? No, it's called promoting Asian American culture, Dan. Like,
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I
Helping a
mean,
brother out.
when you're going to Laker games, there are all those guys out there. There's like, hey, do you have an extra ticket? I
Yeah.
always wonder what those people are doing, but maybe they're like Jeff. They just want like to go watch a Laker game.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
In this
all.
case, he wanted to go watch some films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I met Geoff, and then he reached out to me not too long after about my short film Online Allen. So I was on his podcast, the Yellow Peril podcast. Oh yeah, Jeff's also a podcaster, and
Sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah.
Just like us
yeah,
sometimes.
sometimes yes, just like us. And then yeah, and now here we are. So I kept up with Jeff's work like on Instagram, and also I met up with him prior to him leaving for Taiwan. So but yeah,
That's right.
that's kind of my background. Yeah, yeah. And we
It's a
were like
blur.
keeping,
Sorry. Yeah, that year is a blur, but
and we kept our
I
social
forgot.
distance. I remember he's like, so you don't have any symptoms, right? I'm like, and as I said he was like, I could see this fear in his eyes. Like I was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah. I did
um,
not want to get it. Sorry.
yes, no, yeah,
And I
definitely.
still
Cause
don't
like
want to get it.
given the situation that you were in, yeah. And we can talk about that unless it's too personal, but yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So
an open book mostly.
so yeah, before we like to start with any new guest is get a little bit about their background. So where you grew up, and what made your way, how'd you make your way to LA, then eventually to Taiwan for a short time, then coming back. I guess you grew up in Sacramento, is that correct?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Sacramento. Father's Japanese American, fourth generation, mother's Taiwanese. And then came here for college. They met in Sacramento. I moved to LA for university. I went to UCLA, eventually majored in design, interned at a studio doing like some web digital stuff for them, then went freelance for a while, dabbled in independent film, kept doing design, and worked my way up to creative director at a few agencies. And now I'm at Skydance Media as a creative director there in their marketing team. So yeah, I love LA though. LA's great. Oh, and then Taipei, gosh, I forgot. Yeah. So, well, I moved to Taipei once before in 2012 to 2014 because I was tired of LA. And I thought I would learn a bit more Mandarin. And really then it was just, I knew I wanted to live outside of the country. So it was between Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Taipei ended up being just too awesome to say no to. And I had enough freelance. Yeah. Taiwan's great. So I freelanced there for about 2 years until I got a job offer back here, moved back. And then I just moved back from Taipei again after about a year and a half there. I left LA August 2020 because my then long distance girlfriend, she came to visit me beginning of 2020. She left in March of 2020, got back to Taiwan and was like, I'm pregnant. I'm like, awesome. We were already planning on getting married. So it just accelerated our timeline. And I moved there before the baby was born. We got married before the baby was born and then had the baby in November 2020. And then I was stuck there while we figured out her green card and her visa to come back. And we finally got that all done and moved back to LA in March. What are we in? April. Yeah. So about, right?
A
Yeah.
month
Yeah.
ago.
It's been
We've been
a
back
few
about
weeks, I
3
guess.
weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Crazy, man. Yeah.
It's been
'Cause
a
I
whirlwind.
I reached out to you while you were in Taiwan, and then you said you were moving back. So I was like, okay, well, you should probably take care of all that stuff, and then as you get settled, we'll touch. We'll contact again. Yeah, yeah. Let's see.
So were you working at Skydance while you were figuring all the visa stuff out?
Yeah. So before I left LA, I was working at an agency before, like a boutique agency doing social media in entertainment still and other products. But I told them what the situation was. We were already literally the weekend my now wife left LA in March of 2020. That Monday, my office is like, nobody come to the office because of COVID.
Okay.
So we started working from home. And then a month or two later, my wife's like, I'm pregnant. I'm like, okay. I told my work, like, I've got to go to Taiwan.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, well, as long as you can keep working LA hours, we should be fine. I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, what are the hours? It's like, oh, it's like midnight to 9 a.m. in Taipei. So I had that job and then I just got tired of it. And then an old coworker that's at Skydance that really wanted to work together again got me this position at Skydance Media. So I started that in last year of August. But
Working
they knew
LA
my
hours?
situation. Yeah, they're like, they offered to let me try to shift my hours. I'm like, look, I'm not going to be the guy that starts a new job and is like, yeah, pamper me and deal with my situation. So I sucked it up. I'm like, I've been doing it for a year. What's another, God knows how long. But yeah, we made it work. Another
Made it
6
work.
months doing those crazy hours.
Did it make the jet lag better when you came back?
It did. Absolutely. Yeah. When I got here, I was like, oh, no problem. But the baby and the wife took a few days.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. The baby makes you really have to be back on the schedule too. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess Dan, you're familiar with that, right? Or,
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
Oh,
you-
congratulations, Jeff.
Thank you. You worked those hours before too?
No, I didn't work those hours. I just have 2 kids.
Oh, yeah. I was like, God damn, don't do those hours. Yeah.
Well, I
thought I
work
had
LA
another-
hours, but I don't have to do it
In another country.
internationally.
Yeah.
But Dan, you worked in Japan before, right?
Yeah, just briefly, like for a summer, but nothing like what Jeff did.
Oh, yeah.
Working
Yeah.
in Japan in LA hours. That's not something I've done.
Okay.
Oh,
gotcha.
right.
Yeah. But you
I
worked in
don't recommend
Japan hours, obviously.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
yeah. So cool. Let me see. You have the focus is going a little bit in and out on your camera. I guess it's on autofocus, maybe.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
I
I
just
can turn
noticed.
that off.
Yeah.
Let me deal with that real fast. Sorry.
Cool.
So how do you like it at Skydance?
Yeah.
It's been
Well,
really awesome.
I'm sure you're not, even if it was bad, you're like, oh man, it sucks. You're not going to say that
Yeah.
because you're
True. I
working
mean,
there.
look, I'd still be honest, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I will say, yeah, it's been like, is that better on my focus?
Yeah. Cool. You're nice. Yeah. It's not. There.
I just
there-
changed it. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. Yeah, no, the company's been amazing. The last company I was at, I'll complain about them a little bit.
They shall be unnamed, I'm assuming. Or?
Right. Look, I've worked at so many companies. The last agency was just a little strict and they didn't really, and the pandemic hit them hard. And so there were cuts, and I'll just say that Skydance really took care of me already. They recognized, my work already in like the first 4 months. So it's been great. And like The benefits are awesome. The time off, like entertainment time off, is amazing. We got 2 weeks off paid,
Wow.
for
nice.
the holidays. Whereas my last agency was like, you get Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day off. That's it. We're like, what? Like,
Yeah.
that was the first agency I've worked at that has only given those days off. So I was like, all right, I'm done. There were other things, but that didn't help things,
Right.
Have you met Tom Cruise or
No, not yet.
not yet?
I mean, I literally haven't met anybody at the company except the
Oh,
last person
right.
that I worked with that got me the job.
Yeah.
So,
Are they going back into the office anytime soon?
no. So
That's good.
they wanted people back in January and February, but then Omicron hit. And then the thing is we're remodeling. Skydance bought a building in Santa Monica, and then they just basically practically demolished it to rebuild a whole new one. So the boss wanted us in for January, February, and then demolished starting end of February. So then everybody was supposed to go work from home again. But it ended up everybody just stayed working from home because of Omicron. And then our office is supposed to be done in sometime later this year. And then we'll be back in the office whenever it's done. But I'm in no rush.
Yeah, no one
Obviously.
is. No one's in a rush to
Yeah.
go back.
Well,
Like
I have to
maybe
see
once a
students
week.
though. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah.
I could see school. Yeah. School's tough
Yeah.
to do
'Cause
over Zoom.
Dan, your kids are back in school, right? Or they've been back in school for a bit.
Yeah, they've been back in school this whole year. They've been masked up,
Oh, wow.
but then LA dropped a mask mandate for kids recently, or for indoors at least. So there's some kids, you go to school and there's like some kids that don't have a mask on.
Yeah.
And then, so that's.
But some do. And
Some
I
do.
hear sometimes it seems like most kids don't bother other kids with masks, but I'm sure some kids do, right? Have you heard of any of that?
Like
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 mocking them
fights?
for you're still wearing a mask.
not in my kids' school, not
That's
that I've heard of. But I will say that there are parents, even in 2020, they were like rebelling against the idea of having masks when the kids go back to school. Like in 2020, 2021, they were like holding rallies outside the school.
Oh God. They were holding rallies without masks on, I'm assuming, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole premise was that the kids don't need masks and they shouldn't have masks because if kids get it, it's not going to be very bad. So there are some parents that were out there.
But they're spreaders though. Yeah.
And you can't assume either, right? You don't know who's immunocompromised of a kid. And
right. Not all kids are, built the same, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So getting back to like maybe kind of like the trajectory of your life. So Sacramento, you went to college in LA and
UCLA,
you studied design there.
Yeah, so I went in as art history thinking I could transfer really easily into design after I got in. But after 5 attempts of applying to the design program, I finally got in like the end of my junior year. It turned out they only take like 0 to 2 design transfers from within the school. So it took me a while to get into the program. But I still finished in 4 years, no problem. But I was always interested in entertainment and film, animation. So I guess I got lucky that I ended up getting an internship my first internship in college was at Sony Pictures. And they had a department called already for like the web department called Sony Pictures Digital Entertainment. And I'll say a lot of the people that I worked with back then, I still work with or stay in touch with now. So some of them are still my mentors and, stay with them for a while, even during the internship, during school, and then got hired full-time after I graduated. So that was kind of my first foray into entertainment, but just doing ridiculous stuff, whether it's like It was Sony Pictures. Oh, Spider-Man. Spider-Man came out while I was working there. That was awesome.
Oh, the Toby ones, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
originals. That's how old I am. Sorry, I'm just dating myself. But what else? We did some stupid stuff. And it was the .com heyday. So it was like,
Yeah.
you know, beer Fridays, and I'm not even 21. So it was like, this is amazing. Like, oh my, like free guacamole and salsa and food every Friday. This is the best. It was pretty nice. So yeah,
I mean,
get to go on a lot. Yeah.
As a kid growing up, did you already know like that you were always like you were into like I guess nerdy stuff, right? Back in the day,
yeah.
like Magic the Gathering, the card game, or like
Yes.
yeah,
you see my place, and
yeah.
if you obviously everyone else hasn't, but my place, I live in a loft in downtown LA Arts District, and it's filled with board games, comic books, Magic cards. So yeah, I grew up on comic books and cartoons, sci-fi, fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons, all that stuff. So, and that definitely influenced like my style in terms of design and art and illustration and whatnot.
Did you grow up in like a mainly white community or Asian or pretty diverse community or?
I mean, they say Sacramento is pretty diverse. My schools, I would say, were fairly diverse, but still predominantly white. Absolutely. And I mean, I think that's also, I mean, my dad's 4th generation Japanese American,
Right.
He doesn't speak any Japanese. His parents spoke a bit of Japanese, but I just know, he still felt, and he's told this to me when he was growing up, that there was still a lot of anti-Asian sentiment after World War II. So he said he tried to be as American as he could be, right?
Right.
So he made it a point almost to not learn Japanese. So I think that influenced my Western upbringing, mostly up Western. And then, yeah, like my friends were predominantly white. I barely had, I could think of a few Asians. Yeah. And then just
How
my
dare
family.
you.
But there's a lot of Asians in Sacramento, you know what I
Okay,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah. And there's my family. Like my family was enough Asian.
That's interesting. He wanted to be American, but then he married a Taiwanese woman, I guess. Or yeah.
I know. I mean,
Yeah.
she
And then
was really pretty, so
Well, I guess Americans are into Asian women, so sorry.
Exactly. It's not that far off, but
not too far off, yeah.
They met at work. It's just like, and he dated Asian girls too. I've seen old pictures of him in high school with like Asian girlfriends. So I'm like, okay, but go figure.
Yeah.
Was it a culture shock going to LA from Sacramento? Like way more Asians.
Yeah, it definitely was. Because when I think back about growing up in Sacramento and in my family, we didn't talk about like the other Asian cultures, right? Like
Right.
I knew I was Japanese and Taiwanese, Chinese. But if you said you were Korean, I'm like, I can maybe point to it on a map, maybe, but I don't know what that means, right?
Yeah.
Culturally.
Yeah.
Right. And when I went to high school, I'm not like, that guy's Korean, she's Chinese, I was just like, oh, we're Asian.
Yeah.
Like I really didn't know the differences mostly, right? But college was like, whoa, like there's a lot more, and everyone seems to really identify more with like what their heritage is. And I knew a bit of mine, but it was mostly like the Japanese American story, right? And like I had never been to Taiwan, and like I went once when I was 5, and I didn't go again until well after college. So, I only had what I knew from my mom and meeting the rest of her side of the family in America.
Right.
So once, UCLA was like it blew my mind. Because again, it's like my upbringing was different in that one parent was very westernized and one parent was still, like first generation immigrant. But
Right.
I think because of her upbringing, I mean, her family was pretty well off, so she was sort of raised in a Western schooling system in Taiwan. So she went to like a private Catholic school, I think. So she had an English name from when she was young. She ended up at a Western university, right? So
she went to school. She went to America because of university, right?
Yeah, she went to Sac State.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting choice.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how she picked that, but it worked out for me.
Now you're here.
Because I'm here. But yeah, so once I got to UCLA, I was like, wow. And then I started to learn a bit more just from friends. And I would say, even more so after college, traveling to Asia as well, really opened my eyes even more. Like the first time I went back to Taiwan as an adult, I was like, now it's only Asians, right? It's like you see like, wow, there's a lot. Then you go to Asia, you're like, oh yeah, like I'm just
Another
I
guy.
don't stand out, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I've heard people like, you can tell like the ABCs walking around in Taiwan. That's pretty
Right.
easy,
They walk
right?
like
But
this, or
yeah, like, I'm confident, I know what I'm doing, versus like I don't know. But it just really changed me when I finally went to Asia for the first time as an adult. And it actually gave me more confidence about who I am and my culture and background. So,
I mean, growing up, did you have? It sounds like you didn't really have too much of a cultural awareness. Everything was just blanket Asian. I mean,
yeah,
as a kid growing up with a lot predominantly white friends, like, did they ever call it like? I don't know. Sometimes I've heard in other interviews of some people who've grown up in predominantly white areas, like they didn't recognize maybe some casual racism that their white friends threw at them sometimes, or like, was that ever experienced with you, or they were all like pretty,
it definitely happened. It definitely happened, but not a lot. I think my friends, I think I was pretty lucky, that they maybe sometimes you'd hear something, and I can't think of any moment in particular, because I don't know, I feel like, again, Sacramento's pretty diverse and everybody kind of grows up knowing there's like all types of people around. And I still got made fun of, but for more like normal reasons, like, oh, I was a chubby kid, so I get called, fat or chubby, not like the Asian kid.
They call you
Right.
short round or anything like that, or?
I don't think I ever
No.
got that, really.
James is
Maybe if we
actually-
watched the movie and then they're like, hey, I got like when American Pie came out and John Cho was in it, everybody's like, you're the MILF guy. I'm like, the one Asian guy that we now know that's in the famous movie. Only one friend did that, and he was a little slow, so it's okay. But it's fine. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't really happen that much.
No
I was
disrespect to
pretty
slow
lucky.
people, by the way.
Right. Sorry. Sure. Can I just say dumb then? He was dumb.
Okay.
I can disrespect dumb people because no one's gonna be like, how dare you? How dare you disrespect me? I'm dumb. Well, I guess dumb now means also. Anyways, God.
Anyways.
Yeah, my only cultural experience in terms of Asian was like the difference in food.
Okay.
That was it, right?
Because your mom cooked, like, did she cook food at home, or?
Yeah, my mom cooked Chinese food. And then she learned a lot. My grandmother would cook pretty like Japanese American food and some Japanese dishes, but mostly like country cooking, like, corned beef hash, baked apples. She grew up, my dad's side is really agricultural. They had a nursery in Sacramento.
Right.
So she grew up on farms and everything, but we'd still get like spam musubi and,
I'm curious about what Japanese American food is like. What is exactly Japanese American food?
To me, spam musubi is super like Japanese American. It's Hawaiian.
Yeah,
but I mean, Hawaii's part of America. Yeah. Her mother was born and raised in Hawaii before coming to California.
Okay.
So, we'll make like, I don't even know what you call it, but it's like you layer rice with takuan, like yellow pickled radish, and then it's almost like a rice lasagna with takuan, and then you sprinkle furikake on it. I'm like, I don't think that's very Japanese. That to me is
No,
pretty like Japanese American, right?
Mm.
You've got a
that's just very
casserole
convenient.
dish. Yeah, it
It's just very
is.
convenient.
And it's delicious.
It's delicious.
Yeah. I mean, Japanese American to me is like, I mean, California rolls, but she didn't make those.
Well, I have a
Yeah.
third generation friend, third
Uh-huh.
generation Japanese friend, and he was the one who introduced me to like corned beef hash from the can with a side of rice,
Oh
or
yeah,
like dinty moor with rice,
yeah. Or like
something
Vienna
like that.
sausage
Yeah,
Oh,
with rice.
dude,
Yeah. Or like
Vienna
rice.
sausage.
teriyaki Vienna sausages. Have you ever had those? My grandma make those all
No.
the time. Oh, yeah. Or oh no, it was Little Smokies with teriyaki.
Oh, nice. Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, it's this weird fusion of right down home country cooking with like
rice.
that Japanese flavor, rice or teriyaki or shoyu, soy
Right.
sauce, or
Mm.
yeah, what have you.
So then I'm assuming then you probably had family that were in the camps then.
Yeah, my dad's parents were both in the camps in Poston, Arizona, I believe.
Okay, yeah. For listeners that don't know, we're talking about the Japanese internment camps during the World War II. And I guess and anyone that's fourth Nisei, Yonsei, yeah, they've
Mhm.
had family in the camps. And do they ever talk about it, or did they? Yeah.
They did if you asked, but I never asked too much. I've read a few books that they gave to me. My sister interviewed my grandmother way back. I mean, they both passed away now, but when my grandmother was alive, my sister was in like 6th grade. She recorded her on a cassette talking
Oh.
about her time. And I haven't listened to all of it, but I feel like you hear this all the time that they talk about it in a pretty positive way sometimes, the experience, or like obviously it was an awful thing that happened, but I feel like they really did their best to make the best of the situation, right? So
Mm.
it could also be that my grandmother's dumbing it down for my little sister who was in 6th grade at the time,
grade, yeah.
and it's not going to talk about the horribleness of it.
Right.
But my grandparents met in the camp. So, and then they got married when they got back, I believe. So I didn't hear much from them, but they were very active in the Japanese American community, and always helped do fundraisers for whether it's the monuments and Poston, or all types of events in Sacramento, gatherings, reunions. So
then
it was
I guess
good.
it sounds. Oh, sorry. I guess it sounds like when you went to UCLA, then sort of this kind of Asian American identity that kind of like, because like your podcast is called Yellow Peril Podcast. So like, would you say that maybe your, I guess, was it your ethnographic or Asian American identity kind of like was born out of that kind of
Blossomed.
culture shock in
Yeah.
UCLA, or?
I think so. I think, again, yeah, I don't think I could really pinpoint a moment. And gosh, where did it really start? I don't even know. I would say it was just like through constant discussion with friends. And really it kind of starts with like, why am I as a male less attractive, right? as a dude who's just like trying to make girls, you're like, something's up here, right? Like in Sacramento it was okay and less noticeable, maybe just because I was a token Asian. But then when you get to college, you're like, okay, there's a lot of us now, but things don't seem balanced, right? I'm like, I wonder why. And then you start just reading, talking to friends, watching more movies, understanding like, what pop culture does to people's perception of everything. You're like, okay, yeah, that makes complete sense now, because I watched all those movies and I almost understand why people perceive things the way they do, right? Obviously, or why they see me the way they do. And then the Yellow Peril podcast, which happened much after college, again, it's just meeting more and more like-minded people. And, I wanted to make more content that was from my perspective as an Asian American male. And then I found Vu Bang, who is a co-host on our podcast, and we're like, oh, we vibe. And he studied, Asian American history, culture, everything. I'm very like, we call me the straw man, because I'm coming in a little blind and I know how I feel about certain things. So I can ask the questions that either people are afraid to ask, or, maybe I'll come in a bit naive, but, my intentions are good, of course, but, just sort of have to, and then he can guide me. But the main focus of the podcast was like, is bring positive attention to Asian American, creators, content, and news.
Yeah, it's because it seems like it seems that just looking at some of your earlier work to more of your more recent work, it seems like your earlier work, like you did a film with Daniel Gilles.
Daniel Gillies.
Gillies, yeah.
Yeah.
I watched the 6-minute one clip that you have on YouTube. Yeah. It's pretty.
He did
it's
a
cool.
deep dive. Yeah.
Yeah, Panama. Yeah. Or is it you went to Central America, or where was
That was
Yeah.
shot in Panama. So Daniel Gillies is a buddy of mine who married a friend of mine, and we hit it off, and he was acting, but he was hating the jobs he was getting. And then he's like, I think I had a camera. He's like, let's just go shoot a short film. I'm sick of making like these movies for a lot of money that I hate. I was like, that's nice. But he's like, I'll pay for this trip. He's like, I've got this idea. Excuse me.
You're in college at this time, or you just graduated, or?
No, this is 6 or 7 years out of college, probably.
Oh, okay. All right.
So yeah. And he's like, let's go. I think I was freelancing, so I had time. So he's like, let's go to Panama. I have this idea. Let's just shoot for like a weekend or 3 or 4 days. I don't even remember how long we were there. It's a blur again. But we did crazy stuff. And that trailer is way too long. We shot a short film and it ended up being like 45 minutes to an hour. And it should really be like, we could probably cut it down to 20 minutes, but we were like, whatever. We're just heads up our own asses trying to like show off some cool stuff. But it was crazy. And then he went on to write a feature film. And then I went on that journey with him as well as an associate producer. And that film finally finished in 2012, maybe. And that took like 3 or 4 years to complete. He stopped acting completely. He grew a crazy beard. He wrote it. He started in it. His wife started in it. Shot a third of it in LA, 2/3 of it in Bogota, Colombia. Got money taken away, got money again. Like we flew there. We had to fly back because we lost the money or it didn't come through. It was crazy. So they were all crazy films to make. But it was a great experience to just see like that film was called Broken Kingdom. And then they also made a documentary called Kingdom Come about the making of the movie. And we interviewed, or I should say the producers interviewed a ton of filmmakers, independent filmmakers. It's because it all sort of happened during the crash, the stock market, the whole economy sort of tanked. And so a lot of, VCs and investors dropped out of independent filmmaking. So filmmaking kind of just dried up that year. So that's why we were kind of in a hole, and the documentary is a little bit about that, but we finally finished it. Yeah. I don't know how I ended up on that. It was just, a friend was like, hey, I like you. Like, you want to go shoot this? You know how to edit and hold the camera. And I did go in front of the camera a bit, but that'll never be online.
Yeah, I was trying to find the full length version of the Wait for Me film, and
Yeah.
I couldn't find it. And I looked at the
You'll
comments
find
like, oh, you're never releasing it, or you haven't released it. And I mean, the
Oh,
comment was like
never.
8 years ago, so I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
Well,
And then I looked, I tried to find some other stuff from you, and then I guess you did some you did t-shirt making back in LA or Chinatown.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. So I love t-shirts. I'm a collector. I collect a lot of different things, and one of the things I collect are t-shirts. And then my whole thing with that was in LA, you go out as one does, and a lot of places would be like, you can't come in, your shirt doesn't have a collar, like you don't have, right, you're not dressed nice enough. So it's like, fuck, can I cuss? I can cuss,
Yeah,
right?
fuck yeah.
Fuck this shit. I'm gonna throw a party where you have to wear a t-shirt. So annually for I don't know how many years, 5-6 years, I would throw the t-shirt party. And the first few were like, the first one was just at my house, but everyone had a great time. Then the next one was at some Japanese bar in Cahuenga way back in the day. I feel like it was just called Tokyo Bar. But eventually I met some guys that I was doing some freelance work with, and they started this company called Hit and Run. And they've blown up now. They basically go to live events and they'll screen print t-shirts, and a lot of like big brands will hire them for events. So it's like Adidas, they'll do Adidas t-shirts right on the spot, and you can pick the design and color and the placement. So I did that. So I personally didn't make the t-shirts. I did some of the designs, but I've tried to start a t-shirt company as well in Taiwan, but that didn't really go anywhere because I left before it really launched. That was 2014.
Okay.
But I might bring it back.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But
yes, I do love t-shirts.
Yeah, because like I think the video I watched in like this random blog, all I did was on Google, I just put Geoff Oki, and then I just went from there. And then and then I tried the other variation of your name, Geoffrey Oki, and then it led me down to that the hit and run video I saw. And then because Dan has a strong connection to Chinatown, because I think the party that in the video was a Chinatown.
It was at Mountain Bar, which is now General Lee's, right?
Dan, do you know where that is? Or
it's in central Chinatown, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. Mountain Bar. It was managed by a guy named Jay, and then now he's the owner, and he remodeled it, and now it's General Lee's. But it's right next to, there's like a pho place.
Yeah. Oh, it's Blossom. I think it's Blossom.
Yeah. So you're looking at Blossom, you go to the left, and then there's General Lee's just a building or two over. Yeah. It's a pretty cool bar.
It's in front of Sun Yat-sen, the statue of the guy, right? It's like central Chinatown where they always shoot movies, and then
right. If you're looking at, is that Sun Yat-sen right there? That statue?
Sure yeah, I think so.
Oh, really?
Like that big open wide area?
Yeah, with Wonder Bakery, and then Sun Yat-sen's a statue sitting down, and then the Hop Sing Tong is right there, and then to the right is the Blossom. I think it was. I don't know if Blossom is still there, but it was Blossom for a while.
Now I don't know. I've been gone for years. Everything's gone as far as but yeah, I never noticed the statue of Sun Yat-sen.
Yeah, Dan's.
I only see the Bruce Lee statue.
Oh yeah, Bruce Lee statue is iconic. Yeah. Dan's family has a restaurant in Chinatown. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Which restaurant?
Yang Chow. It's on Broadway. It's on Broadway between College and Alpine. It's
right.
It's like 2 or 3 doors down from where the old Samu is. It's like Hong Kong something seafood now, but Samu, the original Samu we're like 2 or 3 stores down. It's still there. Yang Chow's still there, but Samu is no longer there.
Okay. I mean, I know I've seen it. I know the name. Yeah.
The windows are all blacked out. Everyone thinks it's closed, but there's usually a line out the door.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll go check it out.
Well, not far. Not now, but pre-pandemic.
Oh, okay. Oh, and now it's closed?
No, it's still open, but
Okay.
there are like no lines out the door all the time.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Right.
So cool. So you're doing cool stuff. In uh, you studied design at UCLA. Then you did like crazy film, independent. You dipped your foot. Well, I guess you threw yourself into independent filmmaking, t-shirt
Yeah.
making, all that cool stuff. But I'm curious about the Taiwan trip. It's like you got tired of America, or like what? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. After my first trip to Asia as an adult, I was like, I need to go back. Right. Like I felt something, I don't want to say more me, but it definitely made me feel, gosh, I've never had to elaborate so much on this, but I just wanted to experience it more. And I felt
Mm,
a stronger connection to my heritage being there, right? And understanding my mother a bit more. So yeah, I kind of just I said, okay, I'm gonna make this move. I've got enough freelance work where I can work from anywhere and not work LA hours. And but back then I probably would have been fine because I was a single dude partying. I was just like, yeah, just work through it. But I did not do LA hours. And like I said, I traveled to, I think I did a week in Shanghai, a week in Hong Kong, and a week in Taipei. I was like,
Mm.
all right, I'm gonna pick one of these cities. And like Shanghai is great, it's fun, but it was pretty spread out back then. Public transportation wasn't so great, and it was a little pricey. I mean, you could live
Yeah.
really cheap, but it's pretty old in some parts. And I feel like the French concession area wasn't as developed as it is now, even though it was up and coming. Hong Kong was just expensive.
Yeah.
Hong Kong's amazing. I love all these cities. That's why it was like in my top 3.
Nah, Taipei's better. Just
But
say
then
it.
I got to Taipei. Yeah, I got to Taipei. I was like, I can walk everywhere. Like food's super cheap and good. And even though if you don't know the language, I feel like I could have been fine in Shanghai and Hong Kong.
Mm.
And Taipei was just the same. So I picked Taipei. Yeah.
I mean, so you talk about being an Asian American dude in LA is like, okay, what's up with this dating? Like, why are all these white guys getting more dates who are, I would say like, I'm not, I would say I'm hotter than them in some ways, and they're still, they're pulling more numbers. Like come on, like I gotta ask, like as a single Asian dude, like was the dating scene, was that part of the impetus? Like did you, or you wanted to live a different life? Like, first of all, okay, my first question, how was dating in LA? And then did that
Right.
switch when you made the move, I guess? Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to remember when I left. 2012. I think I was doing fine in LA.
Oh yeah.
I will
okay.
say one impetus was that I didn't get dumped, but I got rejected by a girl that I really liked. So I was
In
like,
LA.
okay.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, in LA. I was like, okay, you know what? Screw it. Like there was just one small part, but we're talking about dating, right? So, but I don't think I was doing terrible. Yes, I would say in Asia, I don't know. Yeah, it's like, oh, Asian women in Asia appreciate Asian men or they have no qualms about it, right? They're not like, oh, like I'd rather, if I have all these options, it's like, oh, he's an Asian guy. Yeah, like why would I second guess
That's
anything
the
about
norm.
him?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, and so I do okay in Asia as well, but is it better? Sure. I don't think that was my impetus to move there though. Like I know friends that thought that's why, and I told them like literally all my trips to Taiwan, it wasn't like I was hooking up. I didn't hook up on any of my trips before I moved there.
Okay.
So was I meeting girls? Yeah. But was I just like, I wasn't smashing left and right,
Right.
It was just,
Yeah.
that happened after I moved. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so that being in Asia again, like I think that's what gave me more confidence when I came back. And I feel like when I got back from Asia the first time, I was like, oh, I don't have to, I'm me, it's like, I'm Asian. It's okay. There are people out there that find me attractive. So, and I think that was a good confidence booster in terms of, my self-image.
Mm,
So I was fine in LA and I was fine in Taipei.
mm,
Yeah. I was
yeah.
okay. I shouldn't say I'm fine. That's
Yeah.
weird.
Because I mean, if you ever go on Reddit and stuff, like there's like a lot of resentful Asian American dudes, like, oh, how come these guys are doing better than me, and because of, like you mentioned before, the emasculation in media and pop culture of Asian American men.
Sure.
But I do think that idea of victimhood, is damaging. So like, it's good to
Absolutely.
hear that you were doing fine. I mean, were you dating across the board, like white, Latina, Asian?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm not, how do I put this? I can't say I'm not picky. I am picky, but yeah, it's not
You're
like
not racist, or
I prefer, yeah, I'm not racist. I'm not a racist. I'll say that. Yeah. I dated the full spectrum and I was
Yeah.
open to that completely.
Yeah.
But then you just start seeing the odds, right? It's just like, all right, well, whether it's on a dating app, most of my responses are from Asian women. Okay, I get it. Sure.
Mm,
But, not always. There's all types,
right.
right? But that I would say more so that happened in the past before I got married, of course. On dating apps, I was like, oh, I'm getting a lot of more responses from like non-Asian women. So,
Gotcha.
which was, I'm like, cool. All right, but too late.
Too late.
Yeah.
Cool. So then, in Taiwan, then you felt when you were working like there for the 2 years that you were there, because I did something similar actually. After college, I had visited during college. I went to UCSD, and then on a spring break one time, I went to Taiwan for like a week, and I felt like, you know what, it was like cool. I had never lived in a foreign country before. I had visited Tijuana because I was in San Diego, but like I haven't lived in a foreign country. So I wanted to know that experience. So in a similar way, I felt like, you know what, I want to explore my roots. Both my parents are Taiwanese, so that was kind of my impetus. And so yeah, that was cool for me. I mean, did you did you kind of find more of your roots in Taiwan, or you're more like, oh, I realize how American I am, or it's like a mix of those kind of feelings? Yeah.
I mean, I learned how bad my Chinese was.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah.
It's still really bad. Even after a year and a half living there, I think people are just like, I haven't given up, but I would say before moving there, it was almost non-existent. And at least now I can survive and get around and, talk to my daughter who's a year and a half now in Chinese. So that's good. Yeah. But yeah, I think Taiwan, and any of those cities I picked, I guess you more so understand like what it's like to be a foreigner coming to another country and why you gravitate to certain groups, right?
Yeah.
And then, and that way, at least I'm like, if everyone did that, they would understand why, so many immigrants sort of, spend time with each other and form communities together and don't really branch out too much, right? Because it's really comfortable to hang out with other ABCs or like English speaking friends in Taiwan or Asia. And, even if I want to learn the language, I could hang out with a group of friends that mostly speak Mandarin, but they'd still, totally accommodate me and speak English, right?
Yeah.
Maybe if we're at a party and they all speak Chinese, I'm just sitting there having a drink, but then they'll turn to me and remember like, oh, he doesn't understand anything that's going on, like, and help me out. But so yeah, I think it helped me understand that. It still helped me, be a bit closer to my mother, because I think she just wanted me to learn a little more Chinese. And the thing is, she didn't go back to Taiwan that much either. until I moved back. She started going back a lot more.
Do you have
Um,
family there or?
Um, a, an aunt. When I moved back, I only had an aunt. My mother's parents passed away before I moved there. My uncle passed away before I moved there, so I only had an aunt, my mom's sister-in-law, and we don't really get along. She's fine. We get along. I should say we get along, but we don't really hang out that often. We'll get like lunch or dinner every
Occasionally.
like when I was there. Yeah, like
Gotcha,
maybe we did
yeah,
it twice or 3 times in 2 years. So
But now you have in-laws.
sort of. I have an interesting situation. My wife doesn't really talk to her mother.
Oh,
And she doesn't know her father. Yeah, it's surprising.
Oh.
So we were in Taipei like alone. I had one cousin there who's born in the States in Valencia, ended up marrying a Taiwanese woman. They lived in Arizona and then moved back to Taiwan about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. So I would see him occasionally, but it's not like they have 2 kids of their own. They offered to help watch the baby, but we were pretty much on our own. Yeah.
Right.
My wife, her mother's in New Taipei City and never saw the baby.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So
Okay.
it's an interesting situation there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Xinbei. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
Taipei is huge, and if you include like Xinbei, like New Taipei City, that's even bigger. Like,
Right. I mean, look, if she lived in Kaohsiung, she should still come and see her granddaughter,
Right,
her first
and
granddaughter, or only grandchild, but you know, she didn't. But she has a cousin that came to visit us a lot, and she has an aunt that saw us finally before we left. So, yeah.
So coming back from Taiwan, you have this kind of maybe renewed connection with your mom's side of that side of your family. And then where did you go from there? I guess coming back from Taiwan and what 2014-ish now? We're on the timeline.
Yeah. 2014 moved back. I just moved back for money.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
I was draining a bank account in Taipei, even though I was making money, but I wasn't putting money away. And then I got a job offer from 2 people in LA when I came back for the holidays, like end of 2013. And I was like, all right, the world's telling me I got to move back. I just got 2 job offers for the most money I've ever been offered. I guess I should take one of them. And I took one of them, and I moved back March 2014. And, but I went back to Taipei at least once a year from that time because I love it there. Yeah.
I found that the same. Like after I lived there, it's kind of like I kept going back once a year, once every 2 years. It's kind of like you don't want, for some reason, I just like it would be a shame if this renewed connection I have with this country was broken. So I guess it's similar to you. It sounds like, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was necessarily because of like my connection with my heritage, but you make a lot of good friends, and the scene there's totally different than LA, right? The food scene, the party scene, the art scene. So I miss it. I love it. And it's always good to go back, and I try to stay for at least 2 weeks, but this last trip was a nightmare.
Okay.
All pandemic times.
Yeah,
should we fast forward to that? Yeah, we can talk.
Yeah, because from living in Taipei to being here in LA, it was just like agency work, doing campaigns. Social media blew up, so I became a creative director doing social media for a lot of like film and TV, and it was fun.
I mean, so for our listeners, can you describe very briefly what is creative director? I've seen this title before in different companies. I guess it might mean different things for different companies, maybe, or
it does mean different things. Like if you're an ad agency and you're a creative director, you mostly just come up with the concept for the ad. You work with the copywriters, you work with the designers. Digital creative director, kind of the same thing, but we do less copywriting. It's more about the visual language and making sure like especially in entertainment,
Mm.
making sure the property is represented correctly and well. I some creative directors like myself are a bit more hands-on, and I still do production work.
Oh,
Right.
really?
So
Cool.
I'll still design stuff or edit stuff or animate something because I still like doing it. But yeah,
Right.
most creative directors will probably just be like, change that, change this, change that, change this.
Mm.
With to their team of designers and art
Cool.
directors. That's it in a nutshell.
All right. So we fast forward to yeah, you meet your wife in LA, I guess, and then
Oh no, we met in Taipei.
oh, this is
Yeah,
on one of the trips to back to
on one of the
Taiwan.
trips back,
Got it. Got it.
we met at Core, which if anybody's been to Taipei, it's like a swanky lounge club next
Mm.
to the cheesy techno club. I shouldn't say that. My friends are the owners. A really cool, hip, young kids club. It used to be Luxy. Luxy is like the super old school club
Oh
in
yeah,
Taipei,
Luxy. Yeah.
owned by the Shaw brothers and a few other investors.
Oh,
And
Shaw Bros.
then
Damn. All right.
yeah, then they remodeled it and split it in two. So one side's Omni, which is the techno room, and then Core is the swanky room. And I was there when I lived there. I was there like every three nights a week.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I always go back. Although this trip I never went back because I was married.
Uh,
Because I met my wife there, and my wife's like, "You're not going back." So we we met at Core through a friend, and we ended up going to karaoke, of course, Sogo Chengwei until like the sun comes up. And then we went on a few dates after that and stayed in touch. She came to the US about 3 or 4 times. I went back another 2 times probably.
mm.
Yeah, and then the last time she was in LA, I was like, I want you to move here. I think this might be it. We should get married and plan it. She's like, great. And then she flew back and she's like, I'm pregnant. I'm like, okay, well, I guess we have to get married now. Because in Taipei, if you don't marry the mother of your child before the child is born, the child is not yours.
Oh,
What?
Yeah, you have to adopt your own child, apparently.
I did not know this.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
I mean, it's really easy to get married. So we went to the city hall, we got married before the baby came out.
Did you do a wedding at all, or
We didn't really have a wedding. We invited
it's
a handful
pandemic,
of
right?
friends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, but it was fine in Taipei. Like this was
Oh, right.
2020 September, and it was on a weekend, and City Hall will open up for you if you want to get married. Apparently, like there was no one else in the building except for us and my friends, and
Yeah.
one person like processing the marriage license. So they opened up for us. There was about 10, 12 people with us, and we zoomed it to everyone in the US and wherever.
Nice.
And they watched us get married, which was just sign a paper and then hold it up.
Yeah.
It wasn't
And then-
anything crazy.
And get some.
We'll
food,
try to throw a
basically.
party back here in LA. Yeah.
Cool. So I guess yeah. So one thing I mentioned in like before this podcast was like the move to. I think some people are kind of curious about that, going to Taiwan during the pandemic, living there, and then coming back to the U.S. How that experience is like. I mean, you had already lived in Taiwan before, so I'm guessing, so going back to Taiwan was kind of like no real culture shock, I guess, this time around. Huh? Yeah.
Right. The only shock was like, oh, everyone's wearing masks.
Oh, right.
No one is protesting outside of a school not wearing masks. Which was great, right? It's like I was surprised by even some friends here when the pandemic first hit. I was like, this seems pretty serious. And someone was like, nah, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm like, okay, well, don't come over to my place after. They're like, why? I'm like, because like this sounds really bad, right? Even if it was beginning of March or something, I'm like, So once I got to Taipei and heard the whole process, I did my 2-week quarantine at a hotel, very smooth, no problems. Everyone's wearing masks. They sprayed all my luggage even before getting in the before getting in the hotel with alcohol. I was like, all right, they're pretty thorough,
Yeah.
But it was still weird because I self-isolated in LA from like March to August. Like I barely went out.
Yeah.
So once I got out of the hotel, it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, it felt weird again, right? To be
Yeah.
around a lot of people, but everyone's wearing masks. So it made me feel pretty comfortable. And I knew the numbers were really low there. So it was nice. But yeah, no culture shock except for like there were people walking around.
So more like social shock, like, oh my God.
Yeah, totally.
I'm in a crowd of people. Yeah.
We're in a mall. What is happening? We're eating at a restaurant. I don't know. But that was nice. And then there was another lockdown in Taipei the year after.
Oh, right. Yeah.
For a couple
I was there for that. Or I was in Tainan at the time, but yeah.
So did
So,
you
like-
have your place in LA the whole time? I'm guessing you kept your loft in LA.
I did. I had too much stuff. One friend's like, you should just move to storage. I'm like, that sounds like another pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But I held on to it. I subletted to this one person that I'll try to make this as short as possible. I was renting a place across the street. I was subletting a place across the street. Renters were not moving in because of the pandemic. So I wanted to end the lease.
Right.
But one guy had just moved in for a month.
Yeah.
So I felt bad. I said, hey, I've got a place across the street, my current loft. I'll give you a deal as long as you like bring my mail in, bring my packages, put the rent check in the box for the landlord.
Yeah.
And he took it. So luckily I found a guy that I didn't really know, but I had to kind of trust.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for a whole year here. That became a sort of problem at the end, but we won't get into that.
So
we'll just say he's not very clean.
oh, gosh.
But it's okay.
Cool.
Yeah, my board games are still here though.
Oh,
as far as I
okay.
know.
And your comic
they're all
books.
still, yeah.
And my comic books, as far as I know.
So one thing that happened while I think we were both in Taiwan was the Atlanta shootings, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I remember hearing about those shootings. It's been a year. It's like the year anniversary was last month, right? So
Right.
I was like, it was probably the only news in like as far as I can remember, maybe in a long time, that made me kind of like tear up, like hearing about like how one of the moms, he had a kid and the kid's like, hey, I don't know how, like, well, the kid, he's like 20 or something, right? And he's like, man, I don't know, but thanks for any support. He had like a GoFundMe, and like I fucking donated to that for sure. And I checked on it a few days later, and it was like he blew past his like his goal. Yeah, it was good. So I remember just in a weird way, I felt isolated because I was reading about the news in Tainan. I was in Tainan studying Mandarin at the time, and I was just looking at these news reports. But like I'm in McDonald's. I'm surrounded by people, all these mostly college kids laughing, chatting it up. But I was just like, as an Asian American, I'm reading this news. I'm like, how come no one's as depressed as me? Yeah. And I get it because it's not really it's not their struggle. They're Taiwanese,
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, I want to kind of hear you. Yeah. What were your thoughts when you heard that news and you were in Taipei and
Right. Where was I? I mean, I know I was in Taipei. I'm just trying to remember when I heard the news, but I think we actually did a podcast just for that episode.
Yeah.
Because we were gone for a while and then that happened. And Vu and I were like, we should say something. So we had our friend Mitchie on, who I know she at least grew up in Atlanta. So we thought she'd be a good person to talk to. Yeah, I guess the shocking thing from that to me was how many people didn't think it was racially driven or that it was a hate crime. And like, I like to play devil's advocate and I understand why someone might say that, right? but I think they're just trying to find loopholes or excuses, right? So that's what the biggest shame from that. Not the biggest shame. That was like a surprising shame, I should say, that I heard from some people, thinking that it wasn't racially motivated. Whatever happened to that guy? Did they ever deem it a hate crime? Because I feel like they're like, we have to investigate it.
Yeah.
And people are like, really? like, what do you have to investigate? Are there?
Because he drove out of his way to like target
specific, yeah. And there were plenty of other spas, and it's not like, is someone going to say, well, spas are predominantly run by Asians in Atlanta, where like it's predominantly white and black? It's clearly targeted specific places, right? Yeah.
1 year later, let's see, roughly. There's an NPR 1 year later reports. Nothing about the shooter, actually. Huh.
Yeah.
It's more about talking about where are we now 1 year later. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think it's much better, but it's also a complicated topic, right? All the hate crimes now.
Because I'm curious, because I'm thinking, because I'm seeing someone now too, and that's something I think about. And you're in a similar position now. It's like you've got a kid, like where if I want to, take this relationship seriously and maybe raise a family eventually, like, do I want to do that in Asia, or do I want to do that in America? And I know in America there's all these racial weird dynamics, but there is like, it's where I grew up, and there are some individualistic ideals that I like, and there's some I don't like, so I don't know. Yeah. I wonder what your thought process is about, like, or do like the 50-50, like maybe 6 months in Taiwan, 6 months in America,
I wish, but then I'd be doing those stupid hours again. But,
oh God.
It's funny because, hold on. She asleep?
How are you on time? Sorry. Yeah.
We're good.
I was thinking maybe like 15 more minutes and then.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
It's funny because like I've talked to friends that have been married, and some have said like, I'm not going to bring a baby into this world right now,
Oh, wow.
I'm like, I get that. And then I'm also reminded, like, a coworker was frustrated about, she's in the gaming industry, video game industry, and she keeps running into situations she feels like that there's a lot of, I know we've seen it everywhere, right? Sexism.
Okay.
Right. In the gaming industry.
Predominantly male industry, I'm assuming. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But she loves gaming. She loves the industry. But, if she's frustrated somewhere, at first she's like, I'm going to quit. And then she came back and she's like, you know what? If I quit, that's just one less, female in the industry to show other females that they can, do this and make it work.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right. So I say that story because if you raise your child in the US, I think that says something if you have that choice, right? Right. I don't want people to be afraid of raising their child in America. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think people should. And granted, there are problems here, but why should the people, and it's fine. I'm not shaming anyone for like leaving America, right? To raise a child someone else. If I had the opportunity, I would certainly consider it. Absolutely. But I would also say, if you're of the mindset that that there's a problem, maybe that change can happen with you and start with you and your child. Great, right? Maybe. But I know, like, it's been a very daunting few past years where a lot of people are like, fuck this, I'm out,
Yeah. I mean, your
But we came back.
your wife has lived in America before, right? Or
No,
no?
No.
Oh,
she's
dang.
only, I mean, the longest stay was like 3 months, and that was right before the pandemic. So
Oh,
she's
how is
never
she
lived here.
adjusting then? Yeah.
She's losing her mind. How are you doing? Do you like America so far? It's only been 3 weeks, but you've always liked it, right? Because I'm here. No, she likes it. It's but I'll say this: when we came back, I was telling her about what was going on, and
Yeah,
in New
that's a hard
York, and
conversation. Yeah. Sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
So no, I was just gonna say, like, because LA is no safer, especially downtown LA where we are, and I think I might say something controversial here, but I think part of the problem also is a lot of the attacks seem to be from uh, a particular, gosh, how do I say this without
Right. I know what
like,
you're gonna. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
like
Dan, you want to say it for him, or
there are mental health issues at large in the US that have not been
Yes.
addressed, right?
Got it.
And
Yeah.
a lot of those people live in downtown LA or parts of New York, right?
Right.
So you just have to be careful. You always had to be careful.
Yeah.
Like Skid Row area. My God, like
Yeah,
it's like a pocket. Yeah, it's like post-war looking area.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
sorry.
bad. It's always been bad. Like before this Asian hate stuff, I heard stories of people getting attacked,
Ugh.
right? My neighbor at my last place got punched in the back of her head,
Wow.
and then the guy just walked away, right? It happens. It shouldn't, but it happens. So I just wanted to tell my wife and make sure, like, look, be careful where you walk, and I've had tons of visitors to downtown from outside of LA, and I'll always say, don't go past this street, don't go past this street, right? Because it's just not safe.
Yeah.
So, but that but we should all feel safe, right? Wherever we go. That's the problem. Especially the crimes in New York, I think, are even scarier just because those are very public spaces where, everyone, it's just a normal open public space, right? The subway train, everyone should feel safe there.
Right. For those of you who don't know, there were the two murders that took place in New York with Christina Lee, I believe her name was. She was stabbed in her apartment. She was followed into her apartment as she was getting home by a mentally ill black male. And then another woman, Michelle Go, was pushed onto railway tracks in New York, also by a mentally ill black male as well. Yeah.
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 I'm only laughing because it's just like,
How ridiculous it is.
yeah, it's absurd to me.
I'm just stating
It's
the facts.
crazy.
I'm not saying any sort of
No, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's totally, I can't, it boggles me that those things can still happen. But I feel like those stories made the news because there is talk about Asian hate right now, right?
Yeah.
And like, I'm not saying those type of things happen all the time, but there are probably people, unfortunately, there are stories that don't make the big headline news of people getting murdered or,
Assaulted and stuff
or
like
assaulted, or yeah. I mean, yeah, God, there was that one with the older woman and the guy just started like kicking her in the head. I was just like,
God, yeah.
It this is a whole nother podcast. This is a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. Dan, I mean, you're I guess you have kids growing up in LA, and is this a concern that you have as well? They're older than, obviously Jeff's kid, but yeah.
No, I mean, I don't think about, just naturally like about Asian hate. I just worry about bullying. It's just gonna happen no matter what. Especially if you're an Asian kid. We our school right now is, very good and stuff like that. It's diverse, but not too many Asians, but diverse still. It's like when you get further on in the middle school and high school, they start wondering, or at least for me, I'm like, oh, I'm more concerned about other kids picking on other kids. It's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just gonna happen. It doesn't matter about race. It's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
So
Right.
my focus is on making sure my kids can actually defend themselves. So I'm making them do kung fu with me. I'm teaching
wow.
kung fu, and then
Wow.
so with other kids on Saturday mornings now, some of their friends want to learn too. So I was like, okay, if their other friends want to learn, it'll inspire them to actually work or practice a little bit more. More power to them. Whatever it's gonna take to get my kids to practice kung fu, I'm gonna be okay with that. So I'm more about. It doesn't even have to be like racially motivated. It just has to be, violence in general. I want to make
Right.
sure my kids are ready.
Any sort of harassment,
Any sort of harassment.
colorblind harassment, any
Colorblind.
harassment. Yeah.
Has that come up at all in the schools during the pandemic for your kids or not?
No.
Oh, good. That's great.
I mean, they're still in elementary school. I remember in third grade, this one girl was getting bullied, but I think the bigger stuff became like, the more serious bullying came about in junior high for me, junior high and high school. I was like, oh, that's
Same
when
with
things
me.
got a little more physical
True.
That's because the puberty and
for whatever
Hormones.
reason. So I'm preparing them for middle school.
So
I have like a couple more years.
So what I'm hearing is that Jeff should enroll his kid into your class or kung fu class.
I'm happy to teach any kid who wants to learn
Kung fu.
Chinese kung fu.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I might seriously be interested in that. Well, if she's interested in it, I'll give. Of course, I'll give her.
Yeah.
The choice. Yeah.
You should give her the choice, but for me, I was like, my kids don't have a choice. They should at least learn the basics to redirect and block.
Right. How to avoid getting hit.
If they get shoved,
Mhm.
and just like redirect them and like block and stuff like that.
Knowing
That's
how
good,
to
yeah.
fall is really important, I think, too.
Yes.
Yes.
Knowing how to fall is very important.
Yeah.
She's really good at that right now.
But she'll forget when she gets older.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. You just
All
have
right.
to keep knocking her down.
Okay, so let's wrap up this podcast. Any last thoughts about I guess how life going on from here? Sounds like you're resettling back to LA and you're working LA hours, so it sounds like you're on a more healthy schedule. Yeah.
I feel healthier. I'm getting fatter again.
Great. Yeah.
Eating all the tacos, pizza, and burgers. I'm finally seeing my parents after 2 years who haven't met my daughter yet.
Oh yeah.
This
wow.
weekend. So we're going up to Sacramento finally. So that's great. It's just nice to share a bed with my wife again.
Yeah.
All these weird normal things. No, it's great. I have a great job. Can't complain too much, right? I'm in a weird loft. That's the only thing, like raising a baby. So it's a bit unconventional, but I'm an artist. I like things
Cool.
not so conventional. I like things off the beaten path. So yeah.
Is that shirt something that you designed that you're wearing?
No, this is a vintage shirt.
Okay.
And I think I only bought it because it reminds me of, oh my God. I mean, I love Disneyland. I know a lot of people hate Disney and Disneyland, but there was the America ride. And there were like 2 buzzards.
Yes.
Right? And
yes.
I don't know. This just
America Sings.
America Sings, yeah. Aren't there 2 buzzards, right?
Yeah, they were always like talking. They're kind of like Statler and Waldorf, whatever.
Yeah, from the Muppets. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, I kind of like this shirt because it just reminds me, of one of those vultures.
Are you gonna start designing shirts soon?
Yeah, any creative projects?
I think we're gonna come back. My wife says maybe she'll help. I stream on Twitch and I'm just getting back into Twitch. I'm hoping to like do designs on stream and then sell them online. I have a Taiwan shirt that I want to bring back. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. I will always make some sort of shirts and just put them on my random website, but I'm not really promoting anything at the moment.
Okay. I mean, you want people to follow you on Twitch? Do you have any at whatever that you want to shout
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
My Twitch is gokid.tv. That's the web link.
GOKID TV
.tv. Yeah, if you just go to
.tv. Cool.
that, it'll go straight to my Twitch. Or we might be bringing the Yellow Peril podcast back. If you just search that on any podcast, you can listen to the past episodes, which may or may not be embarrassing now. Yeah, that's about it for now. I don't have too many of my own projects at the moment. For now. But once I get settled in, I'm sure I'll have a few things going on, I hope.
I guess your biggest project is your daughter, right? So yeah.
I mean, the most time consuming thing, yes.
Awesome, cool. So we're gonna wrap it up with Language Corner. Yay. So yeah, Language Corner. So in this segment, I learned this word recently, baka uma. So like baka means like baka, like you're dumb, right?
Yeah.
But then uma means like uma, it tastes good, right? It's like a casual way to say it tastes good. So baka uma means like stupid good, like this tastes amazing. So I went with I take a jiu-jitsu class here, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu class in Suzuka, Mie area, and I went with some guys to a Mexican restaurant, like it's probably like the best Mexican restaurant I've had in the best Mexican food I've had in Japan by far. Yeah. So I mean, definitely LA just kills it, but like yeah. So I was happy. So anyways, we had these jalapeno poppers, like fried jalapenos. I was like, damn, this is fucking good, right? And then he's like, baka uma. He's like, it's fucking good. Yeah, that's how you say it. So baka uma, yeah. And then I guess another phrase. Once in a while I try to keep up with the Taiwanese language too. That's what I spoke before I was 4. So one phrase that's useful is where are you from? So 你是哪里来? 你是哪里人? Like what kind of person are you? Lang means learn in Mandarin, right? Or person. So 你是哪里人? It's like where are you from, or what nationality are you? 你是哪里人? Yeah. So anyways, those are my phrases. Yeah.
And then for me, I recently learned this. In Japan, all the train stations, the place where you stand is called a home. They always say home. And I thought, oh, that's such a weird way of saying it. I was like, oh, is that because it's home? I know it's a borrowed word, but I learned it's actually short for platform. And so, yeah, because they don't have the F sound. So platform, so it's home. So instead of platform, it's home. And they just cut off the plat part. Yeah. I thought that was interesting for me.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah. I know for like there's something I learned recently. Let me think about it. Yeah, but yeah, Geoff, do you have anything or
going back to cuss words. Well, so I learned just in the past, I feel like I learned it right before I went to Taipei, but and I started using it way too much. But I'm sure you know it, James. 婊子.
Oh, yeah.
Which just means bitch.
I never knew
it. It's a bit rude. It's really mean way to call. I think it's Billy. My wife's right here. Can I call a man a 婊子? Oh, it's only for females. Okay, so that's a bit sexist.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say the other one I enjoy that just sounds fun is mama hoo hoo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, confused.
Just so.
Yeah.
Mama hoo hoo.
I don't know. I just like the way that sounds. Like so. Mama hoo hoo.
It's just so. Yeah. So.
Mama hoo hoo. Does that mean confused too, or no? It means more like so. Like mom. It means like mama in Japanese, right?
Yeah.
Mama hoo.
Mama hoo hoo. Yeah.
Oh, I did. Oh, so this is the thing. Head honcho. Do you know this word, head honcho? Like, oh,
Yeah,
he's the
you're
head
the head
honcho of the
honcho.
club.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So I guess
okay.
it's Japanese. It
Japanese.
comes from Japanese, right?
Hmm,
I
Honcho.
yeah.
I thought it was
Hmm.
like I thought it was Spanish for the longest time, right?
Yeah.
But then like
Or like
yeah,
Native American.
yeah. But then like someone here, like one of these other Japanese these English teachers here in Japan was telling me, no, it's actually Japanese. Like honcho, if you look it up, it's like, yeah, I think it's a different pronunciation in Japanese, honcho. But yeah,
Like
it comes from
SHO,
Japanese.
honcho.
Yeah,
Honcho.
because like a manager is kacho, and
Oh,
then
kacho. You're right. Yeah, yeah.
lower level manager is kakaricho and bucho. So something cho. It's like the character for long at the very end. Cho.
Oh,
Maybe it happened during all the Japanese automotive stuff. Like I keep thinking of what was that movie with Michael Keaton?
Oh, gung ho.
Yeah. Like
With
that
Getty
makes me think the
Getty
term
Watanabe.
came, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getty Watanabe.
Yeah.
I actually saw him the other day.
Really?
Yeah, I was like,
really?
you're in Little Tokyo, no less. I was like, Getty Watanabe. He goes, yeah. I was like, my wife just saw you in the play. East West Players. Goes, oh, thank you so much.
You're like,
Oh,
I didn't say you were good. No.
No, but I was a huge fan. I
No,
was a
totally.
Yeah.
Me too. That's
right?
awesome.
Like when you're growing up, 16 Candles, like Long Duck Dong and Gung Ho
Yeah.
and Volunteers. I was like, oh, Getty Watanabe.
Classic.
nice guy or
Super nice guy.
oh,
Super
nice,
nice guy.
cool.
Yeah.
That's always good when you meet a celebrity or yeah.
Well, I mean, celebrity for Asians, right? Like,
Right.
I
And
bet
older
you, like,
Asians.
older Asians, right?
Yeah.
But I bet you, like, no white kids, like, will think about Getty Watanabe now.
Yeah.
He
So
should make a comeback. Just like the he what I don't know how what it,
Ke Hui Tren or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Ke Hui
Because he
Kwan.
came back
Yeah.
finally.
Wait, is that the short round kid or
Yeah,
is it,
yeah.
Short
okay.
rounds in the Michelle Yeoh movie.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah.
Ah, cool. So head honcho, while honcho is often mistakenly believed to have Spanish origins, it actually traces its roots to American soldiers who fought in the Pacific during World War II.
Okay.
So
that makes more
which is
sense
Japan.
than
Yeah,
gung-ho.
Japanese island.
Well, you know, just like off Gook, I didn't know where Gook came from until college.
Oh, right. Like
Yeah,
Miguk,
Yeah.
which is
yeah.
like country in Guk means country in Korean. Right? Yeah.
Gook was like American.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So the Koreans kids would always like point to Americans. It was like me Gook. And then the
Oh.
Americans were like, yeah, you're a Gook. You're a Gook.
Yeah.
Too bad. But it
All
makes
right,
sense now.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Geoff. Okay, we want to respect your time and we
Yeah.
really appreciate you sharing it with us.
No,
Yeah.
thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I
Geoff.
appreciate it. I hope
Yeah.
I was I don't know why you invited me, but I appreciate it.
Oh, dude,
I don't know
yeah.
if I said anything worthwhile, but thanks for listening to my stories.
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing definitely with this podcast is we want to highlight some people who have, been you're in many ways you've been part of the Asian American artists movement, like behind the scenes here and there. And yeah, we want to highlight people that, maybe are don't necessarily want the spotlight, but we do want to show some spotlight, some light on their work and who they are. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yin and Yang.